Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. You can do anything you want in life, but you can't do everything. This is Wade Vincent here again for another episode of the Forever Better Academy podcast. And I wanted to go through the importance, as the title suggests in this one, in deciding. So choose or lose, right? So as I said, you can do anything you want in your life, anything at all. But you can't do everything. And it really comes down to, we have finite time on this planet. So now, while this has been recorded, it's 2021 right now. And we live in the most abundant time in the history of the planet, at least in the extent of opportunity and freedoms, especially naturally in the developed world. And as this expands out, more and more people are being exposed to and having access to wonderful opportunities that never would have existed in the past. Now, everything that we want is virtually at our fingertips, right in our very pocket, on a device that is more powerful than the rockets that sent astronauts to the moon in the late 60s and the early 70s. Phenomenal, to really weigh that up and consider how much luxury that we have accessible to us. And part of that, having that abundance, what ties into that is abundance of choice. Because we have access to all these different things and we're connected in greater capacity than we ever have been before, we have abundance of choice. So in my life, I've done many different things from, I'm in my late 30s, and in that span of time, I've pursued, sporting opportunities. I qualified as a chef. I went and got a truck license and drove trucks and learned about logistics for many years. I've got into software and learning about e-commerce, personal development. I was a musician, a rapper, a performer, touring around the country. There's so many different paths that I have gone down to ultimately learn about myself and choose what I want to do and who I want to be. So the key right now is really understanding you have to make that decision. You got to pick something, right? You have to choose or you lose. That's the name of the game, right? So every one of us must, not just must, but also there's want. All of us want and must choose a purpose for our lives. What are we going to do with the life, the gift that we've been given? How are we going to take advantage of this opportunity? That's the conundrum. The ultimate question that we must all face is how are you going to use your life? Because it's something that no one else can decide for you. It's completely, uniquely, and utterly your decision to make. And you can decide on anything you want. You want to be a marine biologist, you can be a marine biologist. Naturally there's factors that come into play and there's timing and luck and everything else. But we're stripping it back in this episode down to that foundational part of making the choice, right? So we're not going to dive too deep in the process. We're going to talk about deciding on what it is that you want to pursue and utilize your gift of life and your time to pursue and master, right? So the importance of this, as I said, this is that fundamental question that all of us have to determine for ourselves what the answer is. It's the thing that drives or delivers rather true fulfillment and freedom in your life. Now, a great documentary, if you've never heard of it or seen it, check out Jiro, Dreams of Sushi, I believe it's called. It might be slightly wrong on the title, but if you search that, you'll find it. And it goes through a man who's basically dedicated his entire life to perfecting and mastering the art of sushi. And it's a beautiful vision into that process, and showing that it doesn't matter necessarily what you choose. If that's the thing that ignites your fire and lights up your soul and makes you happy, you can find that fulfillment in anything, because you've decided, it's on you. You chose to do that and pursue that as your craft, your career. And the elements of fulfillment apply across whatever decision you make. So you can find that fulfillment, absolutely, but in order to find that, you have to make the choice, right? So one of the hardest factors in making this decision to begin with is really understanding what you're up against, because as I say, now with this level of abundance that we experience, greater than anyone else in history, there's more choice than ever before. And specifically, we are no longer tied to those ancestral careers or paths or occupations. So in the past, if your father and your father's father and his father before him were bakers, there's a high likelihood that you were going to follow that family business and be a baker. It was very much, you were confined into that space, and it was almost like you didn't have that say, right? So something that is challenging for humans in having that abundance now is that you have such abundance in what options are available to you. It can become so overwhelming and daunting, because you have more to analyze and decide or consider than you ever have. Like if your dad was a baker, as I say, and his father was a baker, and you're going to be a baker, there's no real time wasted. The decision's been made for you, shall we say. So you're focused on, okay, now it's my turn to apprentice under my father and learn the craft, and your focus is and energy flows directly into mastering the craft, because you're not using up all that psychic energy or cognitive power to consider alternative choices and decide. You're not wasting a lot of time to do so. You're just in it. And now that's the gift and the curse. Ultimately, some people may be very happy with that and proud to follow those footsteps. And there's cases where other people, feel trapped, and that they don't have the freedom of choice. Can be frustrating, because what if you absolutely hate baking? What if you have no interest and you feel like the life that is mapped out or predestined or determined for you is years and years of misery that you don't want to spend your time doing? Now, you can look at it in two ways, in that sometimes potentially having too much choice is a bad thing. Spoiled for choice. Ever heard the saying, right? Like, perhaps it's not necessarily as good as it may seem, right? It's a million different perspectives. You can look at it in myriad of ways, but for the purpose of this discussion today, the key is, that's why I want to talk about that challenge of having so much choice, and it's I guess a downside of that abundance is if you have too many choices, you almost feel sometimes so overwhelmed that you don't make a choice for fear of making the wrong choice. Or you ever heard of FOMO? Fear of missing out. If I choose this option, what if I should have taken this option, and then that would have been a better life? And then you get so caught up with too many what ifs, right? So that's the first challenge that you have to go through and understand. If you let that consume you, you're losing time and value in making the decision and moving forward and progressing, right? Even if you have that total abundance of choice, that's fantastic, but you still have to make a decision whether you have two choices: be a baker or be, let's say, a farmer, perhaps, as an example, or a blacksmith back in the day, to now you get hundreds of thousands of choices available to you, but you have to choose or lose, right? And this flows on to the next piece of that equation, being the outside, beyond the external forces of having so many decisions to work through, or so many choices to work through, the internal struggle of taking action and making a decision, doing something. Indecisiveness, right, is a curse. It will stop you dead in your tracks, I promise. And this is something that I've worked on a lot in the last few years, because from my background in music, I was very much a perfectionist. The drums had to sound right, the mix had to be good, everything had to sit right where it needed to be. I needed this to tweak or this to change or bring the vocals through. It was very much a meticulous process of perfectionism over crafting, right? And I've come to understand now a lot of that was based in fear, and many of the obstacles and challenges that you face are deep rooted in fear. Fear is the ultimate obstacle that will stop you from doing anything. And indecisiveness is a derivative of fear, right? You're afraid of making the wrong choice. You're afraid of the consequences of the choice that you do make, right? So if nowadays I try to be far more fluid and dynamic with decisions. Weigh up the options, be wise about it, take into consideration all the facts that you have, within your disposal, and make a call. If it's the wrong choice, shift, pivot, adapt, move, and make another decision based on the feedback from your initial decision, right? Keep moving, making decisions, taking action, taking steps, progressing, right? And I've found far more success and satisfaction in my ability to take action and move and progress where I am and what I'm doing in life, because I'm making those decisions quicker than I did before when I felt everything had to be perfect, right? So take away the indecisiveness, make a decision, right? If it and a good point to actually consider, right? This is valuable, I feel, is what is important is not asking, is this the right choice for me? Because it's a very broad and open-ended question. But what about asking, is this the right choice for me right now? Right here where I am in this very moment, with the information that I have and what's available to me, and the immediate response or reaction that occurs based on the decision I make. Is this the right decision for me right now? And I guarantee if you drill it down, scope down, laser focus down onto that decision based on the moment that you're in, you remove a lot of the noise and you'll be able to make decisions more quickly, making effective decisions, and be able to create momentum, because, as I say, you're learning from the experience, which allows you to refine your choices. So you're rather than getting all your ducks in a row and aligning everything before you make your decision so that you get the most perfect outcome possible, which isn't possible. It's always a good decision or a bad decision, or a good or bad outcome that comes from the decision that can be tweaked and worked upon. So making the decision, is this the right decision for me right now? Okay. So and then this leads on to really the part of that fear obstacle that that props up or pops up rather and causes those frustrations and lack of action is analysis paralysis. So maybe you've heard of this saying: if you've been invested in your self-development, your self-growth, personal development for any amount of time, you would have heard the saying analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis. So this is basically when you are so consumed or overwhelmed with that abundance of choice that I speak about, where you're analyzing. Especially for myself, I'm very analytical. I like to understand what I'm looking at and weigh the pros and cons before I make decisions. When you do that, and there is so many decisions or factors to consider, you find you're spinning wheels. You're busy for the sake of busy. You can get caught up believing you're taking action and moving and progressing when you're not. You're just considering things without ever making a concrete decision or taking charge and doing something with that information that you've uncovered, right? So part of the brain actually has built-in defense mechanisms that because of the overwhelm almost shut down and cause avoidance, right? So it's this defense mechanism where for fear of making the wrong decision, you ultimately again, fear, right? Make no decision at all. And in doing that, you've spent all this time, as I said, spinning wheels, just burning time, burning energy, and you haven't gotten anywhere for it. So and one of the hardest things to understand or to really grasp is, if you don't choose what to do with your life's gone to waste. Really, like, can you imagine, right? Like, close your eyes with me and imagine that right now you're laying on your deathbed. It's late in your life. You're in your sort of maybe 80s or 90s perhaps, and you've got your entire family around you. They're all there. You've been blessed with a long life. People that care about you are there with you in this moment, and you never took the chance or took the risk or made a decision because you had too many choices to pick from, and you're laying on that deathbed knowing you have no time left. And it's too late. It's so easy to think about when you're younger that you've got forever, all the time in the world, right? How would you feel? It's a great exercise from, if you've ever read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. One of the habits is begin with the end in mind. So if you can jump forward and do a thought experiment and think through, what would it feel like if I was in that position, as I say, on that deathbed, full of regret? What could my life have been? How different would it be? And that, I think, and this is where, sorry, just mind's like ticking over, right? So this is where things like fear can be used to your advantage to benefit you. When you take that fear that's stopping you from taking action and making a decision because of fear of less than desirable outcomes, take that fear and put it behind you, in that it's a driving force for the fear of a life wasted. You should be afraid to be in that position. You should have more fear around getting to the end of your life and knowing it's too late to take action. That should scare the shit out of you. That should be that driver. Take the fear that you're facing that's in front of you, put it behind you, and let it push you forward. Use that fear, because all of these emotions and you could call them instincts or drivers that you feel and your body gives you, are tools to help you understand and navigate the decisions that you need to make in the situations that you're in, right? So you take that fear, put it behind you, and use it like wind in your sails to push you forward, right? That scares me more than anything is a life not well lived, right? So and okay, no, it's not all like doom and gloom. This is just, I want to set that landscape so you understand, right? The ultimate thing is beyond the worry or knowing that you have to take a choice. There's joy and wonder in the freedom that you have to make a choice, right? So the other aspect of that is the excitement, the wonder, the happiness, the freedom that you have to take your life in your own hands, and you get to craft it. You write your own story. What do you want to be? Are you the hero of your own story? What journey are you on? How are you going to write it? Because you're living it as this, in this very moment. You're writing your story. The chapters are being written as you go through your life right now. So the wonder that really that you embody when you start to understand the truth behind, you cannot master a craft or utilize your life to its fullest capacity until you take the very first step, which is choose. Right down to that granular, simplified next step moving forward. Pick. What do you want to be? What do you want to do with your life? You must choose or you will lose. Now, when you grasp that and you understand, first imperative is to make the call, decide what it is that you want to do. Once you make the choice, so much progress happens instantly in that moment when you're committed and you've decided and you're all in on the choice that you've made. So much of the noise and clutter and energy that is being drained on consideration and deciding now can be fully utilized and maximize the potential that you can reach, because you can focus all that effort and energy on doubling down, deep dive onto your craft, mastering what it is that you've decided to use your life to do, right? So and this is important to remember. Now, it's never too late to choose. Remember this, right? It's never too late to choose what you want to do with your life. You can always choose a new thing, a new path, a new option, right? As long as you're breathing, you have options and choice. I promise you, right? So the sooner that you choose, the longer time that you have to master your chosen craft. And the more fulfilling your life can become, because you can challenge yourself and reach higher and higher and higher levels. Like, imagine, as a good example, right? They talk about prodigy children. This 4-year-old child is a piano virtuoso, right? There may be some natural talent there, but any child that has parents that are dedicated to what they want the child to experience and learn and to master. If you put a child on a piano and they enjoy the sounds and they're playing, and you just keep encouraging them and getting them lessons and guiding them, any child can be a prodigy. Now you think about a child, let's say, that starts piano when they're 4 years old, and then they like in a similar age group to me now, in the late 30s, and they've been playing piano for over 30 years. Can you imagine what an exceptional piano player that person would be, right? 30 plus years of mastering a craft and dedication to the choice that they made, to how to best utilize their life, right? Uh, it's not so much that that child was necessarily a prodigy. It's they started. They made a choice, and in some of these instances, the parents have made the choice for them. Wisely, getting a kid started early is always a good thing, right? Giving them more opportunity and time to grow into that craft. You could, if you start learning piano at 50 and you play till you're 70 and you have 20 years experience, you'll still have that wonder and beautiful joy of something that you dedicated your time and life to, that you wanted to, and you mastered it. So there's no too late to start. You can just go further on the journey the sooner you decide. So I guess what I'm really trying to what's what I'm looking for, to get across, really, to share with you guys, is the importance of choosing not only what you want to do with your life and the decision to how best to spend your time, but choose quickly. The sooner you choose, naturally, is the better, right? Because, as I say, you've removed all that noise and the other energy that's being sucked out of your ability to now spend that energy on the craft itself. So you the sooner you choose, the longer you have to work on your craft. Like, let's say for example, right, you live a long, healthy and happy life, and you're well into your 80s, and it turns out that you were absolutely fascinated by gardening. You just love landscaping, and you spent most of your life, your career, fulfilling yourself because you picked the thing that you love, and it was gardening. Now, if you love something and it means the world to you, and it gives you that sense of fulfillment and joy in your life, would you rather experience it for 10 or 15 years of your life, or would you rather experience it for 60 years of your life, more of your life spent dedicated to your passion, your calling, your sense of purpose? Now, and I know there may be some people sitting here watching this or listening to this saying, but I don't know what my passion is. I don't know how I want to spend my life. I don't feel like I have a calling, right? Now, to those people, I would say, spend your life in discovery, experiment, try, right? Do different things. Your life is a gift, and you can't possibly know or understand what's gonna light your soul on fire, excite you, or give you that feeling that when you pick it, without a doubt in your heart, that's that thing. You can only discover that or learn that by trying different things, experiencing what life has to offer, what the world has to give you. Like, every the only way you ultimately choose what you're going to spend your life doing is do things that interest you now. I guarantee, and honestly, you already know what they are. If you strip away and remove all the noise and all the clutter and everything else that's screaming for your attention, right? Try this as an experiment. Turn off when you're done listening to this. Even if you want, pause it now and try this experiment. Turn off all your devices. Sit in a clear space, a calm space, peaceful, quiet, and start to just breathe in and out and think back. When I was 5, when I was 8, when I was 10, what are the things that brought joy to me as a little kid? What were the things that I did all the time? What was I intrigued by? What interested me? What did I see and do with a lot of my time, right? And if you start to remember back and listen to that inner voice, you can start to piece the puzzle together, because you realize the things that align with who you are and your purpose, they call out to you. Sometimes the voice has just been calling for so long that it's quiet. You have to strip away all that noise to really to dive in. Turn your ears up and listen till you can hear it. It might be faint, but it's there. All right, you have to just take yourself back into those moments and think through it. And another good experiment that I've seen many people offer this as a helpful suggestion, which may be beneficial to you as well, is people say, to ask yourself, right, what could you talk about for 20 minutes with no preparation, right? What's something that if someone just handed you a microphone and asked you to talk for 20 minutes, what would your go-to topic or subject be? Chances are, whatever the answer is for you is probably the thing that is aligning with what you should be doing with your life and time. The thing that interests you the most, the most about. The things that you know the most about are the things that interest you because you've spent most of your time learning about them because they intrigue you. That's why you know so much about a certain topic or a certain thing, right? For me personally, it's self-development, growth, learning and understanding how to navigate and become the best version of myself I can be. I'm fascinated by the tweaks and changes to how I live, how I communicate, how I interact with others, and how I get better outcomes in my life is improved upon because of it. And that's, if I think back to that, as I said, that experiment when I'm a little kid, that was the kind of stuff that still intrigued me when I was little, was how do I do this better? How do I get better at things? How do I improve on things, right? Like, it's there, I promise you. Just take that time. It's a gift you need to give to yourself. It's important to take this time for yourself. Because if you truly want to give and have things to offer to the world, your gifts, you have to give to yourself first. You have to do the work on yourself so you fill your cup and you're nourished and you understand your center and what is important, how you're going to use your life. And then you're able to give and offer and share with others, right? And I went through this, and I believe every one of you who hasn't yet found your calling probably has the same feeling, is that when you're going through these moments, as I say, experiment and trying and learning to figure out what is your thing, right? It can feel like you're not making progress because you feel like, as I say, you're spinning the wheels. You're trying to find the thing that nothing's quite resonating with you, and you put that unnecessary pressure on yourself, that you're running out of time, and it's not the case at all. Maybe you had to go through these things to get to the point that you're at now, to be knowledgeable enough or experienced enough to truly value and understand how to utilize the choice that you make ultimately. Right? I know, like, if I made decisions in my life that have served me well in my 30s, if I made them in my 20s, I wasn't ready yet. This is, and I've said this in other podcast episodes. When I was a chef, my head chef George at the time used to always say, "You can't speed the cooking process." Right? Maybe you're not meant to find your life's purpose or calling till later in life, because it takes so many different experiences, situations, and scenarios for you to live through and experience until you know. So don't ever feel like, if you haven't decided or made the call yet or chosen, that is too late. Ultimately, you have to choose. That's what this is all about. Today's episode, just making the decision, right? Pick, and if it serves you and it fulfills your life sort of from your 20s to your 30s, and then you choose something again. You can change it, that's okay. And to tie into, as I say, with once you fill your own cup and you fully actualized and aligned with what, how you want to spend your life, and you're moving forward in that regard, the greatest benefit and joy that comes from not only taking the action and feeling fulfilled and proud because you've made the call and you're enjoying how you're spending your life, but the twofold effect of when you do that, sometimes unknowingly, it affects other people, and you're creating and you're in service of others, and you're giving of your talents and gifts, which is what it's truly about. When you have learned and understood who you are and what you're here for and what you're ready to do and what you can offer, I believe that's when we truly find the fulfillment that comes as a unexpected bonus, I guess you could say, because the joy is a flow-on effect that you've made an impact, you've made a difference to other people, and you've set a good example for others, because you never know who's watching, right? You think about when you were a little kid, and let's say you were into boxing, right? And you the first time you saw Tyson fight, or the first time you saw Evander Holyfield fight, or however old you are, whoever it may be, is an example, right? And it just hit you. You just knew when you watched that, you saw, and that's what you wanted to do. That's who you wanted to be. You can be that for other people too. We can be that light, that beacon that sets the example and gives hope and opportunity to others because of our actions and choices. All right, so make sure, choose or lose, okay? So when you're finished listening or watching this today, take that time, do that exercise, sit there quietly, give yourself some space away from everyone and everything. Think and listen. Listen to that inner voice and let it tell you what it's trying to tell you, right? So, as always, who could you become? This is Wade Vincent. Thank you for being part of the Forever Better Academy. I look forward to our next conversation, and until then, stay safe, stay focused, and be the best version of yourself you can be. Talk to you soon, guys. See you later.